today for me to stand shoulder to shoulder with a group of Naga people and women who are a symbol of freedom and strength. Thank you for inviting me to this occasion. At this moment, I believe Ms. Rose, who was raped by the Indian Army and had to commit suicide, not able to bear the shame and humiliation, will be resting with a sense of satisfaction for the formation of Tangku Senailong and for the works that you have done for the people and the nation for the last 50 years. Thank you so much once again. I also believe that our two brothers, Mr. Tamaso and Masuting, who were the latest victim of who have committed a sacrifice in line of duty for the cause of the Naga people, for the cause of the Naga nation. And this, I just want to say that as far as the border fencing or the freedom movement regime is concerned, with or without the freedom of free movement regime, there is no Indo-Burma or Indo-Myanmar border in Naga homeland. This is our home. You have divided it, Britishers divided it, India came and occupied, Burmese occupied some part of it, India occupied, but we are one people. And the idea that there is a border in the middle of Naga homes and Naga villages does not exist. It's only a wild imagination. In this context, I want to thank the Tangkulong also, those of you who have initiated to defend our land and our people from such insult. Similar exercises are going on in different parts of Nagaland, but I believe our people in different areas are equally prepared to face the consequences and to fight against such repressive ideas and laws of the Indian government. Thank you once again for protecting our people and our identity. I just want to repeat, there is no Indo-Burma border in the Naga homeland or the Naga nation. There may be a Burma Naga border somewhere in the Chingun River, another border, India Naga border somewhere in the towards Brahmaputra River. But there is no Indo-Burma border in between these two rivers. Let us be clear about that. And for this, our forefathers, our elders have sacrificed their everything. The Naga movement for self-determination, for human rights, and for whatever reasons that we have just shouted slogan, we are existing as a people today. I want to thank Madam Priscilla for recounting some of the instances that our people have suffered under the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. It is impossible to recount how our people have suffered, how many have been killed, murdered, raped, villages burned. It is impossible. But I just want to say a few things about what we also as a people have been doing against such repressive laws, which have continued to subjugate us as inhuman, in the most inhuman manner, for the last 50, 60, 70 years. Ever since NPMHR was formed as a human rights organization in 1978, our sole intent and the purpose of the organization coming into an organization was to fight these repressive laws and to tell the world and the Indian people themselves what the government of India and her military has been doing in the Naga homeland, which was blacked out to the rest of India and even to the world. Even the Indian journalists were not allowed to come to Naga areas in those years. After NPMHR was formed in 1978, somehow we started telling our stories, starting from Delhi, in universities and in platforms, and even to the international community. Immediately, petitions were filed in the Supreme Court of India in 1982 itself, and we won a historic case in the case of C. Paul and C. Daniel, who were taken away by the Indian military. Until today, there is no trace of what happened to them. They are your brothers, they are your parents, they are our parents, part of our body. But government of India for the first time had to pay compensation of 1 lakh each in 1984, which came out as one of the 10 most unique cases all over India. Cases have been going on, but the Supreme Court of India could not even withdraw or remove or repeal the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. We filed cases again in the Guwahati High Court following the Oinam case in 1987 itself. Testimonies of victims ran to 10,000 pages. The case have been going on continuously for 5 years, and the judgment never came. Till today, the case is pending in the High Court of Guwahati, and even now, despite the ceasefire and everything, some of our human rights leaders are being threatened now and then over phone by Indian military officials to withdraw the case from Guwahati High Court, to withdraw the Oinam case. Nevertheless, even legal battles are fought in different cases, in small cases, in different courts. We have gone to the United Nations ever since organization was formed. In 1991 itself, for the first time, the United Nations had a hearing with 18 expert countries in New York and questioned the representative of the Indian government for 2 consecutive days as to why laws such as the Armed Forces Special Powers Act should exist, not only in a democracy but on this earth. The Indian Solicitor General lied to whatever extent he could to defend the Indian government's action. Those days, it was the Human Rights Committee, which is now called the Human Rights Council. After that also, we have been continuously going to the United Nations ever since ceasefire came, and we have raised on several occasions that Indian government through her military has killed more than 300,000 Nagas in the last 50 years. United Nations in 2010 sent Mr. Christoph Hayes, who was a special reporter on extrajudicial killing, to visit this park to ascertain this human rights violations and atrocities. Government of India stopped him from Guwahati, and he was not allowed to come to Nagaland and not to Imphal or to Manipur, where these excesses were going on. So we had to go and meet him in Guwahati. Representatives from different parts of Northeast came. So when I raised this issue that in 2012, since Christoph Hayes was not even allowed to visit Nagaland, Manipur, Jammu and Kashmir, in the United Nations, against the backdrop that 300,000 Nagas have been killed on extrajudicial killing, which was proved with a petition which was filed by the Amnesty International. And of course, government of India did not allow Amnesty International to come to this part of the world. But they requested me to file the first-hand information. I forgot the actual name. And when I filed that for the information to the office of the Nagaland Director General of Police, to ascertain in the last more than 50, 60 years, how many people were killed under capital punishment or hanged because of crime. Every police station investigation was sent. There was not a single record of one person being awarded capital punishment for crimes. So, is that not extrajudicial killing of more than 300 Nagas all over Naga areas? And in the midst of my speech in New York, the Indian government representative came threatening me, even in the eyes of media people. You even ask my telephone number in New York. It's a very long story, but Amnesty International on its part has been projecting all these atrocities, the Oinam incident, the Mogoksin incident, the Koima incident, and the Akuluto incidents, which was circulated highly in the United Nations platforms. In that backdrop, in 1995, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Boutros Ghali, he made a statement: there is human rights violation in Nagaland. And that the necessity for a UN agency to investigate into this human rights violation was becoming necessary. When this was happening, it was at that time the Prime Minister of India, Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao, as you all know, went in search of our leaders. He sent his Internal Security Minister, Mr. Rajesh Palat, to different parts of Asia, in Europe, to search for our two leaders, Isaac and Maiva, to negotiate peace. Because India was going to be humiliated in the face of the world if the United Nations sent in a fact-finding team. And therefore the ceasefire came in 1997. And what happened then? As today we are gathered here, after 27 years of peace negotiation and peace talk, government of India has been going back on its word again and again, in the backdrop of people among Nagas themselves who wants to sabotage peace, who wants to abrogate peace, who want to maintain status quo, saying that Nagas are Indian. Nagas have no right to be free. Nagas should continue to be slaves. That is the mental of certain Naga people. One such person happened to be a person called Jamir, who was then former Chief Minister of Nagaland. So when ceasefire came in 1997, with effect on 1st August 1997, the ceasefire was only for 3 months, from August to October. October 31st was the last day, if it is not extended. He immediately convened a meeting of leaders of organizations and individuals on 25th October in his official residence at Kohima. And you know, those days, the factional killings were just beyond control, unspeakable. But when ceasefire came in August 1997, because of the factions, so many people were killing each other. And Nagaland government recorded that there are 317 people has been killed because of the ceasefire in the last 3 months. And therefore he said, we must ask government of India not to extend the ceasefire beyond 31st August. I stood up and told him, Mr. Chief Minister, we, the younger generation, today's Nagas, who are seeing what is peace after 50 years. We will not allow you to sabotage and remove this newfound peace at any cost. You have no right to barter away the future of the younger generation. And the ceasefire, with that, he could not recommend to the government of India, since all the organizations present there stood by what we said. Then the Home Ministry organized a seminar on 31st October, because that was the last day of ceasefire in Naga areas. In JNU, under the name of Northeast Policy Research and Policy Research, when Mr. J.K. Pillai was the the Joint Secretary in charge of Northeast, and we all know him. Names like J.K. Pillai, Jamir do not fade. They do not fade, even after their long dead and gone. We will remember them. And in that seminar, I was asked to come and speak. And he said, ceasefire should not be extended. I told him, Mr. Pillai, more than 300 Nagas are already dead, even in the midst of this ceasefire of 3 months. If you abrogate this ceasefire again, how many thousands are going to die? Then he said, why should the government of India care if 300 Nagas are dead in 3 months, when more than 2,000 Indians are getting killed in 1 month just over traffic incidents in Delhi itself? Why should we care? So I stood up and said, Mr. Pillai, if that is the case, okay, abrogate the ceasefire, but come and fight the Naga army like a man. Don't let your Indian soldiers hide under the skirts of women and children. If you can go and kill the Naga army in the jungles of Nagaland, I will congratulate you. But if your Indian army also suffered death, don't ever complain. The next day, the ceasefire was extended. After many years, when he retired as Home Secretary, he called on 2-3 occasions. He called me for reconciliation. We met over breakfast, shook hands, but that's it. But as ceasefire was continuing, only in the state of Nagaland at that time, presumably. All the ceasefires everywhere. In 2001, the government of India for the first time gave in written, that is called the Bangkok Agreement, where the ceasefire between the government of India and the NSCN is without any territorial limit. Wherever Nagas are, there should be peace. Whether it is in Paris or in New York, that was the statement used by the first Indian interlocutor. Wherever Nagas are, all over the world, there should be peace, there should be ceasefire. Unfortunately, you all know what happened July 18 uprising in Imphal. They killed themselves, they destroyed their properties themselves just to deny peace to the Naga people. They will, whatever way, suffer consequences for those inhuman deeds that have been done on fellow human beings. And government of India had to retract, roll back the ceasefire without territorial limit on 27 July itself. On the same day where we met the Prime Minister in the morning at 11 o'clock, along with UNC, Ansam, Naga, we went and met Vajpayee in his home. We asked him if what is happening in Imphal, because of what is happening in Imphal, government of India is going to roll back the ceasefire territory. He assured, I promise you, he said, we will not do that. Ceasefire should be everywhere. Peace should be everywhere. In the evening, in the same day, in the evening at around 7 o'clock, his Home Minister, L.K. Advani, announced in the media that ceasefire coverage area is withdrawn only to the state of Nagaland. Ever since, there is back and forth argument till today. Today, the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, has signed framework agreement with the NSCN. His Home Minister, just like what L.K. Advani did many years back, is trying to take over, to say that Naga problem is an Indian internal problem. Where is the meeting point then? How do we negotiate when the Prime Minister says one thing and the Home Minister says another thing? And the army does completely different things. Even in the midst of this ceasefire, we have seen how Armed Forces Special Powers Act has been applied in different parts of the Naga area. ASPA has been removed from some pockets in Nagaland state, but it is there in some places. The most violent area in Manipur, Imphal town or Imphal city, call whatever name, most violent areas, ASPA has been removed. The hills, which was singing with sounds of freedom, peace at heart, ASPA still continue to be operative in Naga areas, in pockets of Nagaland, Manipur, Arunachal Pradesh. Where there is peace, if ASPA is to be applied because of violence, it should be applied in Bombay, in Delhi, in Calcutta. As you can all see what is happening. There's killing every day. There's violence every day. There's rape, murder every day. Many of which are not being reported in the media. Therefore, friends, when we say save the peace, despite all the humiliation, the insult, the suffering that has been inflicted on us, we say still let us give peace a chance. Today we've come to some kind of a crossroad. after 27 years, as we all know, what's happening now? The Naga peoples are suffering humiliations which have become unbearable. And if this ceasefire is meant only to insult people and to humiliate people, what is the value behind it? Does it become the question for which many antennas are being raised, many new initiatives are being made. So whom can we blame? If India cannot even honor which was signed in the residence in the presence of the Prime Minister, Home Minister, and all top bureaucrats of India, and the Prime Minister himself went to the international community to say that he has made peace with the Nagas. And even after long years, 9 years, not implementing, going back on his word, and side by side, signing some other agreements just to insult their own very agreement. So what can we expect in a situation like this? What kind of future can we look at if this is how the world is going to treat us? In a sense, India has become the world for us because we have been treated as animals under the cage for all these years. And Nagas have been playing, dancing to the tunes of the Indian masters. And that is why Indians are taking complete undue advantage of the Nagas, even in the talks. They don't feel shy to tell lies. They don't hesitate to insult, even themselves, even their own words. If there is some hope left, there is some hope in the persons of those of you who are sitting in this Tangkulong ground today. You are one of the very few remaining people, symbol of strength and freedom, as I mentioned earlier. Many Nagas have submitted themselves to the whims and fancies of their Indian masters. But posterity will not forgive those people. The blood and the spirit of those more than 300,000 Nagas were scattered all over India, all over Burma, all over Naga areas, who walked to China, to Pakistan. They will never forgive this kind of people. History also cannot forget, and the spirit of those people also cannot forgive. And I believe people like Pizong, Isaacsu, Koli, many others, Kodao, Yangkong, who have gone before us or just in front of us, their spirit are watching us. When they look at Tangkulong ground today, they will feel alive, and they'll feel that their works are not in vain, that there is still hope for their dreams to be realized through this kind of people. Therefore, we cannot be discouraged. We cannot be cowed down because of the love of money or materials, which they will enjoy only for a short while. But these people, their children's children, one day will not forgive them. Their own children will not forgive them for what they did in their time, during their leadership, during their time. But for those of you who are strong in the belief of ancestors and who are committed to provide freedom and peace to our future children, forever your names will be written in the minds and memories of our coming generations. So let us live for peace. Let us, despite all frustrations, give please, one more chance, and let us, most of all, stop quarreling ourselves. If we have differences in our families, if we have differences in our kitchens, in our bedroom, let us settle it at home. But let us not settle it in public, especially in front of India or the other parts of the world who are giving us support to whatever is possible. The United Nations, we all think, is not bordered, but we're not giving them the opportunity to help us because we're destroying every opportunity that comes. Let me tell you one more story. In 2007, United Nations representative from the Home Department, they have mentioned in a meeting, as I said in the Longland show, they are thinking of Nagaland after Kosovo is independent. You know what happened after Nagas ceasefire was signed? How many countries after us got independent? East Timor, now called Timor-Leste, Aceh, Kosovo, Tajikistan, whatnot. In India, when we were negotiating, there were people, oppressed people, fighting for their statehood, and they asked our solidarity. We laughed at them. We did not extend our solidarity because they're not fighting for independence. Well, for them, their independence is India. But they achieved it. While Nagas are still quarreling, they've achieved. Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Uttarakhand. What else? They have achieved it. They didn't even fight half the battle that were fought. But they were united in purpose. They were angry in many among themselves. But they didn't fight like Nagas among themselves. Some of those people who brought statehood together we traveled together to the UN. Some of them are dead and gone. But their works, their people are enjoying. So brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, let us live for one another. If we have differences, and we know we have differences, it's an open secret. No need to hide. It's no shame. Everywhere in the world, there is differences. There are quarrels, there are divorces, there are killings among father and son. Everywhere it happens, it's okay. It's human nature. But at a time like this, when India is insulting us left and right, our neighbors are humiliating, insulting us left and right, our own Naga leaders who holds key to our future are insulting us left and right. We, the victims, instead of coming together, are fighting among ourselves, and we are going to spoil our own food. But more importantly, if we do that today, tomorrow where will our children go? Or their children? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.